Indie sales are up 7.9%, and traditional sales are down 2.1%. We're going to throw a whole lot of numbers at you. Those are the important numbers. The KDP Global Fund grew 7.9% year over year, and it grew 3.1% month over month.
And
KDP
this
is
is
mostly
July.
for indies.
Yeah. And this is July 24 to July 25. We're picking that because that's what we have the most recent traditional published numbers. So a lot of people say, oh, we can't track indie sales. And that's not true. You can track the global fund. And that's a really good approximation for indie sales overall because the book scan numbers don't track indie sales at all. They just have a big hole in their book scan reports. So the Association of American Publishers published its stat shot. They do it every month. We cover it every month, and we now have the July numbers, and they are bleak for traditional publishers.
So basically, everything is down. All right. We have a whole bunch of numbers here. Everything is down.
Consumer books are down 11.9% in July.
Yeah, that's the
ebook revenues are down 3.7 year to date. So now let's do some year to date numbers. This isn't July to July; it's July to January. Hardback is down 0.6. So hardback's actually pretty flat. Paperbacks are down 9.1. Mass market is down 26%.
That was huge.
This is where they're really competing with the indies, is in the mass market, because instead of buying a mass market paperback, people are buying ebooks, and the ebooks, traditional publishers have abandoned ebook sales. In fact,
they hate them.
The most shocking thing in this report was in their pie chart, where they showed the year-to-date sales, and digital ebooks were 12.9% of sales year-to-date, and digital audio was 13.1%, which means for traditionally published books, digital audio sales are higher than ebook sales. They buried the lead on this one. Nobody is talking about this. I have an episode on how to turn your book into an audiobook that comes out on Wednesday. I recorded it last week. I would have 100% mentioned that that audiobook sales are surpassing ebook sales for traditionally published books if I'd have known. But this report hadn't come out when I recorded that episode. Now, here's the deal. This is a bit misleading because this is only looking at traditionally published books. Indie authors see by far their biggest chunk of sales in ebooks, and the whole ebook world is mostly dominated by indie authors because traditionally published books have chosen not to compete. In fact, it's often more expensive to buy an ebook than it is to buy a paper book. And because of that, almost all ebook buyers buy indie books. So the whole ebook space has been complete. All those little robots swarming over the big alien have completely taken over by indies. So indies are inheriting the world. They are already inheriting ebooks, and they're nibble away at paper books and audiobook sales.
And coming from an analytical standpoint, from human behavior, the fact that there's a shift towards audio from ebook is a huge deal, because now people aren't sitting and staring at a tablet to read. Now they're listening to it while they're doing something else. And it's only a 0.02 or a 0.2% shift there. But the fact that audio is more right now over ebook in the traditional space is a human behavior shift. And that is something that needs to be tracked. That's something you gotta keep your eyes on. Even over here in indie land, where people will buy books because they're inexpensive, they're willing to take a chance on you. Nobody's taking a chance on a $17.99 ebook. No one is taking a chance on that. But if you're competitively priced, which last I checked, competitively priced on Amazon is $5.99 for a decently ranged book. If it's shorter, like romance, we're talking 60, 65. You're looking at $4.99. But if it's longer, $5.99 is decent.
Check your category to see specifically what the price is, because the price does vary dramatically by category. But what you'll find is that there's the categories, the price that all the ebooks are in, which is somewhere in the, let's say, $3 to $10 range. And then the traditionally published books are all in the like $11 to $25 range. Like they're just not at all priced even in the same universe. And it's because that one, they don't want to give market power over to Amazon, which I understand, but it's also because they have to maintain their economies of scale for the print books.
Yes.
So they don't actually want ebooks to take off, because the fewer print books they can print and sell, the less they make per
discount.
book.
Yeah.
And so they really want to push readers into paper, because their whole business model is based off of paper, which is very interesting. Because as more and more people read more and more digital books and listen to books, the whole business model for traditionally published books, which is really focused on paper, is put at risk. That said, younger people tend to prefer paper, so paper as a format may persist. I don't think paper books are going to go away. But one other thing in this report that jumped out at me, one, for some reason they peel out religious book sales and report on those numbers separately. And religious books have fallen less than all of the other categories. So religious books saw a decline of 0.1%. We're seeing surge in sales of Bibles recently. In fact, one of the top 100 books on all of Amazon is a pink faux leather-bound King James Bible. Which I was like, King James, really? That's ambitious.
Go back to the good one.
Another really interesting trend here. The last thing I'll pull out from this report, although Jonathan, you may have some other insights. Professional books. So these are business, medical, law, technical, scientific books. Those saw one of the biggest declines, a 9% fall during the month. And so they're down 9% month over month, and they're down 7.9% as compared to the first 7 months of 2004. So if you compare this year to last year, they're down. And I think that's because of AI. I think people are taking their legal questions to AI tools, like my Patron Toolbox tool called Not a Lawyer, which you can use to ask legal questions, but you can also just ask ChatGPT legal questions. All of the AIs can pass the bar exam, including Llama, which is like a chewing on crayons idiot AI compared to the others. But even Llama can pass the bar exam. It doesn't pass it well, but it passes. And so I think people are moving those kinds of questions over to AI. And so that section of nonfiction is really going to have to compete. And being a reference book it's been bad in the reference book space, right? The Yellow Pages got killed by Google, and AI is going to put pressure on even more reference books, I think.